On to Phydock. So this is the same Phydock that finishes every chapter 3. Battles are basically the same. So if you come here as a Chaos or a neutral playthrough, you'll get roughly this answer.
Goliath, is it? Are you ranked so bad that you must lead your armies yourself? Cut off the head and the body dies. Today will be your last.
Yes, yes, swordsman, I don't care. There's nothing remarkable about either side. Obviously, this side you're met with golems that slow you down pretty good. Other side you have a long grassy area followed by water that you have to cross over, and then you zigzag up to the side where you'd fight the boss. So like I said, the biggest obstacle in this mission is those initial golems. I have some stuff equipped to try to take them down a little bit quicker, but there's not really too much you can do to make the golem fight go super duper fast. Some of this is going to be whether or not I'm able to collect these blue power-ups. And also what power-ups drop. If they start dropping criticals and physicals up, you know, with the sword and the one with the star, this may go a lot quicker. If it drops MP / skill up ones, this will take a little longer. Just because the clay golems are they're very hardy creatures, so unless you're playing on their weaknesses, it can be a bit of a struggle. Yeah, the one thing I worry about as I age, it's a silly thing. A lot of people worry about their long-term health, staying in shape, making sure that their heart is healthy. You know, they're checking themselves for any sort of, you know, problem like cancer or what have you. You know, making sure that your joints are good, you know, and they're not wearing out because you played high school football or something, or other sort of sports that kind of damaged your ligaments. No, I'm concerned about becoming the old man that has the big tufts of hair growing out of his ears, or the bushy nose hairs that just, like, you know, for the first, I don't know, let's say 60 years of your life, the nose hairs stay more or less inside your nose, and then you hit like 60 or 70, and all of a sudden they start like growing like weeds out your nose and out the side of your ears, you know? Or you get the big bushy eyebrows that, you know, sometimes people get. I don't know. It's weird too, because the cycle men tend to go through is you're born, you're a child, you become a teenager, and then at some point in that area, teenage adulthood, your hair starts to thin. Doesn't have to go bald, you don't have to thin a lot, but you'll start to thin somewhere. Your hair on top of your head, or, you know, around the back of your head or up near your peaks in the front, will start to fade back a little bit, or it'll thin out. Men have it, women have this problem because, you know, as you get older, your genes and hormones change, blah, 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 blah. But I find it hilarious that after all of that thinning that occurs in your, for some people it's the teens unfortunately, but we'll say 20s and 30s, suddenly, you know, another 30 years after that, you start growing hair in all the places that, like, you don't think about, like your nose and your ears, and your eyebrows may start to take off like they're part of your skull. Well, I mean, they are part of your skull, but, you know, hair on the top of your head, not anywhere else. So, you know, obviously there are little trimmers that help you trim your eyebrows and trim your nose hairs and trim your ear hair if you have it. But, you know, I start to think about that kind of stuff. So like when I'm bored, I'll sit there and feel around my earlobe to see if there's any like you know, I can like use my fingernails to pluck at any hair that's there, even though it's probably just, you know, regular little whatever you want to call it, peach fuzz. You know, the type of hair that you naturally get. Everywhere, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I guess the best way I could explain it is if you look on the back here, well, at least the back of my hand anyways, I've got small little tiny hairs that are, you know, maybe a 1/16 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch long. You look at the top of my hand, you can't tell there's any hair there, but if you turn to the side and face, you know, the window, you can see where all the little pores and hairs are on my hand. But like I said, they're basically invisible if you're looking at them at a non-side angle, like you're looking at it face on. And that was a very interesting story. I don't know. I'm not one of those people that likes to pluck or, you know, pick hairs out of their eyebrows or whatever. But there are like 3 places I never wanted to see hair, or I got sort of aggressive about making sure that hair was always removed, and that's between my eyebrows. You know, I never wanted any remnants of a unibrow. Ever. The other place is just kind of gross, I think, is like on the back of your neck. You know, I know your hair, it comes down to a certain point, and then you have those hairs after your hairline, between, you know, your hairline and your collar line. And you know, you go to the barber, obviously, to get those, you know, cleaned up, trimmed up.
Pity those foolish enough to follow you, boy. Today they will learn the folly of a frontal assault. It will be too late to beg for your lives once the Dark Knights arrive.
Yes, he thinks the Dark Knights are going to come out of the castle or show up behind us to make, you know, rout our camp. That's not going to happen, as we know. But some of this, I think, has to do with the fact that when I was little, I used to watch like cartoons and shit. And you're gonna go, what does cartoons have to do with hair? Bear with me. When I was younger, there was a show on television that ran in the early to mid 90s called X-Men, and their take on Sabretooth was this very hairy, very animalistic character. He was like, he kind of reminded me of like if you had like a Wolverine or a bear, and it stood on 2 feet and had a human face and somewhat human hair, that's what you would get. So, you know, this idea that your hair would start and you would get like a thick patch on your neck and back, and it would just turn into a Wolverine, or not a Wolverine, a Sabretooth. Yeah. I don't think, I know there's genetic anomalies that can occur that probably has given someone that sort of hairline where their hair runs all the way down to their back. You know, and just keeps growing like normal hair on the top of your head. But I have to imagine that like your hair on your back is like hair on your arms or hair on your chest, where it grows out to a certain length and then just stops. And if you shave it or a hair follicle falls out, it'll grow to that replacement length and then just stop again. Leg hair is another one. If you have leg hair, it grows out to a certain length and then just stops. You don't have to get out the razor, you don't have to get out the trimmers to trim down your leg hair. It just stops at a certain point. Come on, Denim, you can do it. I believe in you, buddy. Won't take terribly long. All that's left, it appears, is just the guys up on the rampart now.
Where could the Dark Knights be? Surely they've not forsaken us.
I don't see any Dark Knights riding from the castle. The rift between the two forces must be wide indeed.
Yeah, because Brandon's an asshole and the Dark Knights are assholes and they're only interested in themselves. So why would anyone aid anybody? You know? One of those Robert Greene laws of power shit. You know? You only abide people so long until they no longer prove of any use to you. Then you drop them like a hot potato. But you try to give them the air that they're the superior one, when in reality you're the ones manipulating the behind the scenes. Obviously that requires charisma. It requires a higher power, usually like a king or president or someone who can back you up should anyone below you question you. And then of course you always have to be on the lookout for those below you trying to usurp you, because inevitably once they have the ability to do so, they will. I'll give you a quick crash course in the laws of power. There's what, 40, he had like was it 40 laws of power? 48 laws of power. Most of them surround the concept of A, if you have a leader or a boss, do not outshine them. If you outshine them, you are in trouble. Number 2, don't ever let anyone know what you're thinking. You let them know what you're thinking, you've basically given them an insight into your mind, your motivations, etc. And it makes it more difficult for you to play the long game if they know what you're about. 3, never make a move unless you're 100% sure that you can. And generally abide people until they either no longer serve a purpose or they begin to lose power. Oh, also, it's easier to make a common enemy a focal point that strengthens your relationship with someone than it is to try to create a natural friendship with them. Because friendships take time to make, whereas if you have a common enemy, it's easier to bond over that common enemy. If you ever get into power, don't give the power to your friends, because they'll generally think that they earned that power when in reality you gave it to them. Instead, give that power to your enemies, because they know that you hold the power over them and you choose to endow them with gifts rather than continue to compete with them. There's more to that than what I'm saying, but essentially, if you reward a friend, they'll take advantage of you. If you reward an enemy, they'll feel so grateful that you didn't kill them that they generally stop becoming a problem, or something like that. Old adage: keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. Yeah, kind of like that. Bye-bye.
If we have failed, then there is no stopping them.
Weird death line, but I guess I get that. More of a death thought than a death line. Mark, Ray. Codex of Gems. I already have that one. As I do most of the codexes. Cutscene.
You're certain it was Hoberim?
I know who I saw, and a wretched sight he was.
Of course. I did not mean to doubt you.
You told me he was dead, taken ill in the dungeons of Belandon.
Indeed. He was given funerary rites. A meager ceremony befitting a criminal, but even so.
So you bore witness to his corpse? Perhaps I was mistaken after all.
As I have said.
I want to believe you, but I cannot deny what I saw.
That's because Balsaphone's a
Not
big fucking
interrupting,
liar.
am I?
A private matter. No concern of yours.
Now, Balsaphon. That's no way to speak to the brother of your betrothed.
Brother or no,
That's
I am your
another
commander.
another wrinkle to this
if you've
story.
business with me, I would hear it.
Our front line is breached. It's only a matter of time before Fidok falls.
So, the Bakram were not enough to hold them after all. Ozma, take a detachment of men and leave the castle. Oz and I will delay them as long as we can.
Oh, am I to flee like the thrush before the storm?
Nothing of the sort. You are to guard the High Champion.
Of course. He and the princess must be kept safe.
You have your orders. Go!
As you say.
Watch. Even though this is just right, watch this.
Ozma, we'll continue this later.
She leaves.